Hi, Mochismo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share, and give a thumbs up for this video if you found it helpful, and pass it along. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I want to ask you a question. Is your life fulfilling, or are you living your life for a feeling? Fulfilling meaning is your life beginning to feel a little more worthwhile, and this is post narcissist abuse. If it isn't, I hope you get there in time. And fulfilling is a work in progress. There's never a destination completed until you breathe your last. That's my opinion. So the fulfilling is progressional. It can be fleeting. You can capture it 1 minute, and next minute your life is unfulfilling. I think that's a beautiful thing too, because it gives you a reason to wake up every day and put your best foot forward, and there's always new things to look forward to. But on the other hand, let's ask ourselves and recognize the difference, guys. Are we living a life every day on a daily basis, and we're chasing feelings? We're living for the feeling of completeness. We're living for the feeling of happiness. We're living for simply the feeling of being stress-free. And what I'm saying when I say that is because if we really think about it as human beings that have a brain, reasoning and rationale, and different things that God gave us, and there's also things that are called dopamine in our brain. And that dopamine is something that we know all too well. Every human being actually likes. It's a really, really beautiful feeling inside the brain. It's like fireworks going off inside of you. It's like this bubbly, tingly feeling. It's a rush. And there's several ways you can get dopamine hits. We know narcissists gets it from fuel, supply, people, adoration, admiration, attention, being the center of attention, you name it. The list goes on and on. But at the same time, people who are not narcissists, we love attention. We appreciate those things as well. We're just not willing to go the distance and get it any way, damn way we can. We have an off switch. Some things we're just not willing to do to get that type of attention or that dopamine hit. And so we resist. But at the same time, we're just talking about humans in general, because we share more in common with narcissists than we want to believe or accept. Short of trying to destroy people, hurt people, not being able to introspect and reflect on our errors of our ways, short of that, the narcissist and not take account of, it goes on and on. The things in which a narcissist are so disordered about, which is really why they can't change. Short of that, the narcissist is just like you and me. And so that's really what I'm trying to capture here. This is an all-inclusive conversation, and I pray and hope narcissists are listening to this too, because I believe by God's grace and His grace alone, there is hope for them. I want to believe that. I've seen no evidence of that, but I'm not like a Thomas. I don't have to see the nails in his hands and his side to believe that it's possible. But going back to point, I don't know what to say, but going back to point. Sometimes we're chasing the feeling, and we sometimes translate that into a fulfilling life. As long as we got things that can take our mind off of our problems. And if you ever notice how that's worded, I'm doing stuff to take my mind off of this, that, or the other, my problem. Taking, if you're doing something just to take your mind off of something, taking your mind off of something is basically saying, I'm taking my attention off of that, I'm taking my focus off of that, I'm taking my thought process off of that. Now, that last thing, thought process off of that thing, that's the detriment to some of us, because if we're doing something to substitute or divert our focus and our thought process off of that, are we really going to deal with that properly in a healthy way? Are we even going to go back to that thing? Are we going to revisit that thing? Or let it grow or fester? And so when we say I'm doing this or doing that to take my mind off of stuff, really need to be careful, because that very thing that you're taking your mind off of, you really probably most often should keep your mind on that. Case in point, we went through things with narcissists. They took us through stuff. We argued and arm wrestled our intuition. Our intuition told us that this person doesn't seem like they're taking what I'm trying to confront them with seriously. Or, as an example, I just confronted them, I just told them how I feel. They just don't seem like they really get it. So you go and you do something to take your mind off of that situation, when in fact you should have stayed vigilant, pondered that thing, wrote that thing out in your mind to see where it went or see where it was going to go. Thereby, you're able to do critical thinking. You're able to really get down and dirty with that thought process. You're not going to let that thing linger, because what it does is when you do things a lot of times to take your mind off, and this is to this point before I lose sight of this is what continued to give that narcissist a foothold in that destruction of you and your life with them, because we passed that off. We did what we had to do, or we did what we felt like we had to do to take our mind off of that thing that narcissist just did to slight us, to offend us, whatever it was, the thing they did, or the things they did, plural. And the longer we did, the more we took our mind off of the things that they did, it was that when we gave them passes, when we didn't revisit that, they'd come up and show up with a bouquet of roses for Valentine's Day, when they had just had a knockdown drag out the night before. We readily accepted those roses with no apology. We took those roses as an apology. And so therefore, they did what they knew to do to take our mind off of that too. Other people can cause us to take our mind off of something deliberately and on purpose, because they want to divert our attention off of that thing, so we don't begin to critical think and come to a conclusion that this is a setup. This is all a game. This roller coaster is never going to stop, and I'm just sick of riding it. This thrill is gone. So, back to what I'm talking about individually, we do things for a feeling. With this new age technological world that we have, that is probably more expansive than it's ever been in history. We have the cell phone, we have the smartwatch, we have the smart refrigerator. My washing machine is Bluetooth. Tells me when on my phone when the wash cycle is done. Someone gave it to me, I didn't buy it. But the thing is, this is the things that we sometimes get invested in. Restaurants, hibachi, we go to that. We go to these elaborate things, or these shindigs, or these interactions, and these engagements. We're doing these things. We're devoted to these things, sometimes religiously. We put more time into these things and these gadgets and these distractions, because it takes our mind off of the problem. or the situation. So we're doing this for a feeling. We're not being fulfilling. We're not fulfilling our life in these things. We're doing it for the feeling that they give us. So that is the difference I want us to always understand when we're doing something. Am I saying it's all wrong to do those things? Again, as I always say, disclaimer, if it doesn't apply, please let it fly. Because if you're not the type of person that can grasp something out of a video that someone is giving you in a helpful way, trying to let you get down and dirty with yourself by giving this information to you, then that's problem number one. We need to really understand that sometimes we don't connect with what someone is saying, but we can't throw it out of the window with everything else, because in context, there's always work to do with ourselves. There's always improvement. So the fulfilling life, as opposed to doing something just for a feeling, is really where I'm going with this conversation. And a lot of times, the fulfilling part of life sometimes is not instant gratification. Fulfilling for me comes from something most often that is not tangible. It's almost always intangible things. And it's deeper than just a feeling. It's deeper than just, if I can try to explain this, it's deeper than just a fuzzy feeling inside. You know what it really is, if I could capture it accurately? It is an undeniable, unexplainable peace. It's undeniable, unexplainable peace. And I don't always have to be isolated to have that peace, because some people are in isolation and they're in chaos. I was in isolated confinement in the penitentiary in the 90s. And I've said this before, and if you have a weak stomach, I apologize. There were some people that could not be caged within that 6 by 10 or whatever it was, probably even not even that, whatever the dimensions are, alone, isolated, nothing to do, no one to talk to. Some went to drastic measures to the point where they began to consume and bathe themselves in their you know what, fill in the blanks. And this would get them instantly taken out of confinement, because you're essentially in a box inside of a box. When you're in prison, you're in a box. Sometimes you're in open dorms, but sometimes you're in individual cells, two-man cells. You have a bunkie upstairs, downstairs, high and low. And so when you go to the box, which is called solitary confinement, you're just put in a similar box, but smaller maybe. But the difference is you're in a single cell. And so it does a lot for the psyche if you're not strong-willed, or you have spiritually strong connection to God and different things. If you don't have a spiritual life, put it that way, and it will break you in many ways. So this is what people will do if they continue to isolate. Sometimes they will get progressively worse. But the peace I'm talking about is even when I'm out and about. Things around me may not be all that peaceful. Things may be chaotic. There may be some conflicts going on around me. And there may just be some energies around me that are not so much verbally conflicting, but they may be spirits and energies that I recognize that are in chaos. But see, that chaos doesn't disturb my peace in a lot of cases. So when you have this peace that's unexplainable, that's the wind, guys. I don't know if you hear it. Wind is high here today. It's unexplainable. It's undeniable. So that's when you begin to understand, even though you don't have a lot of tangible things, and I'm not taking away the fact that because you have peace, you're not concerned about how you're going to take care of things from day to day. You know, in conjunction, hand in hand, these things go together. But in the way that you're concerned about them, you're not pulling your hair out of your head. That's not me, right? But you're not going crazy. You're able to, actually, most cases, think your way through the situation because it's not foreign to you. You remember it and say, "Man, I've gone through this before. I'll be fine." It's just, just take a breath, USA, and just remain in that peace. Because once you get in a chaotic state, it's kind of like water in a computer. You're not going to be able to, in a healthy way, give that priority or that problem the attention it needs. So there's a difference in living a life that's fulfilling and living a life just for the feeling. I hope you guys get something from this. It really boils down to introspecting, spending time with yourself, challenging yourself, asking yourself this from day to day, time to time. You ain't gotta be religious about it. Hold yourself accountable for how you feel. And don't always attribute it to things outside of you because you have control over you. You can choose to feel the way you want to feel. I mean, if you take the time and really look at, is this thing that I'm going through, is it something that I should use to fulfill my life, or is it something I'm doing just to feel good about life? That being said, bless.